Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bounce Back Diaries. And we have another episode, and this one is very special because I have a very beautiful, talented, and amazing guest today. Because normally, as Bali said, the owner of this beautiful place, he said normally we have men who sounds very wise, but not that beautiful. So today, I have a very nice guest, very beautiful, Rola Diab. Please
Thank you.
welcome. Rola, pass to you, please. I think people are waiting to know who you are and what you do and why you're here.
I don't know why I'm here yet,
Yeah,
but
we'll figure it out. Yeah.
I'm new to Dubai and I have a company that focuses on performance strategies, everything from communication to public speaking skills and a lot of the alignment strategies that make us successful internally. So, not just external communication, what we do on the outside, but
Yeah.
also internal communication so that we perform at the mental fitness level necessary to get to the results.
Wow. That's a lot. But so you said you're new to Dubai. How long you
Yeah.
been here?
Well, I was spending a lot of time here before I moved, but I'm officially here on paper as of 3 months.
As of 3 months.
Yes.
Wow. How do you find it so far?
I love Dubai. It's honestly, I grew up in Riyadh and when I left Riyadh, I went to college in the US and I've never come back. I mean,
Okay.
I basically never thought I was leaving the US. And the fact that I decided to move here, I mean, I'm honestly like I would have said never
Okay.
before. And now that, I spent enough time here and realized like I don't think there's a better place. And I almost don't want to say this out loud because I don't want everybody to move here. I know they want to
Yeah.
increase the population, but like we're good.
We say this, yeah. Now when you see the streets are filled with cars and you get stuck in traffic because it was never like this.
Yeah.
People used to move from one place to another like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now sometimes you get stuck in traffic for 41
Yeah.
hour and you think like, oh, why all of you came here? But
Yeah.
it is true that people are moving to Dubai and you're here. So let's talk about your company and yourself. First, what I want to know. So to those who are going to see this video for the first time. So Bounce Back Diaries is all about bouncing back for entrepreneurs, people out there, not necessarily business owners, everyone who is out there who is either experiencing downfall or on the way coming up and or maybe at the top, because sometimes we don't realize that being there is just another way to go down and then come back again. So whether it's relationship, whether it's business, that's why every guest I bring here, and you rightly said you don't know yet why you're here, but I'll open up the subject. So first of all, thank you very much. And bouncing back and performance, they're very well connected because you perform, you act, whether it's your personal life. Let's talk more about first, what made you start this company? And when did you start this company?
I started in 2019, end of 2018, beginning of 2019 officially, but I had decided as I was working for other companies that I really loved. When I was 25, I was introduced to the self-development world, and that was a long time ago. So I really dove in, I mean, at a very deep, obsessive level. Every year I did at least one or more major teachers, live events, big events. I became certified through one of Tony Robbins's coaching company. I really love the work. And so as I worked through the ups and downs of different companies that I worked with, traditionally in my past, I've been successful at sales. I've typically been the top whatever percent, right?
Okay.
Between, top 10 or less percent typically. And not to say that I did it all perfectly. I had to learn things obviously along the way. But a lot of what helped me was learning things like alignment strategies. And I didn't know that's what it was back then. I just knew I was incorporating self-development strategies that were helping me, that were controlling my narrative and the framing of how I looked at the world, which would in turn give me better results. And so as I was going through different companies and at one point, the last company I worked for sold. When it sold, I was like, okay, what should I do next? And because I'd been successful in sales, I was like, you know what? I'm going to open a sales training company. That
Interesting.
makes sense. I've done it. I've done it well. So I went through the Kellogg Business School program to learn the foundational principles of how they structure a whole entire sales training. So after doing that, I started my company, and I got lucky. Well, so quote unquote lucky.
Yeah.
You know, I picked up great clients that I could put on my roster. U.S. great clients like Fortune 500 companies, multi-billion-dollar companies that people may or may not know in this part of the world, but obviously really helped my business to get clients like that. And then I had a roster of people I was working with on a month-to-month basis. Later, I expanded my business into business consulting. This is during or
COVID.
yeah, just post COVID.
Okay.
I expanded it. I would say at the end of COVID is
Yeah.
probably depending on what part of
But
the world you lived
every
in. Yeah,
company
yeah,
needed that. What do we
yeah.
do now? Yeah.
So I expanded. Went through a training for business coaching. So I learned how to help build the foundational principles of businesses, and expanded later as I learned the leadership development. And it just kept growing. And you combine all that with self-development, with everything else I was doing, I was building a pretty strong foundation to be able to speak to many different types of audiences, depending on what it is they're looking for.
It is a great ladder. So you start with sales because that's your experience.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that step into opening your own business and becoming an entrepreneur after working for the corporates.
Yeah.
I know that working for the corporates and being a sales, you always sort of self-develop.
Yeah.
The sales team is always outside the company because they have their own team, their own strategies, more flexibility. Not everyone built for sales.
Yeah.
And then you develop leadership skills when to help companies. So now it's a bigger audience. Now you do it for bigger companies.
Yeah.
And now you do everything from sales, leadership, etc. Leadership, because I like the word leadership. I used to call myself, I'm the worst leader, without realizing that I'm a great leader, but the worst manager. I mean, I'm very unstructured. So when it comes to performance and leadership, what's leadership for you? I mean, what is that? I mean, is it something you can teach to be a leader? Is it something you
Yeah,
can
of course.
acquire, or you're born as a leader? What is leadership?
I don't know that anyone's truly born a leader. I think you have instincts, right? Personality instincts, but you've really got to hone in and actively work on being a great leader. Now, obviously, conscious leadership is gaining traction in the world. It's heavily moving in the US. I think it's growing slowly in this part of the world. But conscious leadership is heavily based on awareness, emotional intelligence, and empathy. So when you combine those three and really understand that you're dealing with emotions, because people make decisions based off emotions and we justify with logic, that's what the science tells us. So if everybody's making emotional decisions and you see a stock market completely plummet because of emotions, the world is managed and moved on emotion. So if that's the case, the most important thing that we do is manage our emotional frequency effectively, right? And the way to do that is to do the inner work, to create alignment, and it takes time and effort to become aware, to understand where I am today, and this is the gap between where I am and where I need to be to get to a place that makes the teams I'm working with feel supported, feel aligned, feel all the things that are necessary to help create the ecosystem that the life force energy in that company is moving in the same direction. I talk about this a lot, about life force energy.
Okay.
I think it's one of the most important things that we kind of neglect.
Life force energy. Can you
Life
elaborate?
force energy. It's basically your energy. If you look at where you put your attention is where you're sending energy. Right now, I'm sending energy to you by focusing on you.
Thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome. I'm feeding you, but look, you're feeding me back, which in relationships this happens often. Both people are feeding each other energy and it's working. What really hurts people when they leave a relationship relationship is one of the people, their energy might turn and away. So let's say we were together. Your energy now turns away from me. I'm still feeding you my life force and I'm getting nothing
Nothing
back,
back.
right? Now I'm starting to get depleted. Even in my suffering, if I were to consciously be aware that I'm sending you my life force and to stop, even though there's some pain there that I'm losing this person, if I were to just redirect my life force back onto me, start sending those electrical currents back to me, because we're an electromagnetic field running, right? We're as powerful as the electricity running the world, right? It's running through our bodies. If I send that energy back to myself, now I can feed myself, and suddenly I'm less concerned about you. I'm feeding myself back up, and I can do it with conscious frequencies of focused love and attention onto myself. And when I do it that way, suddenly I feel better. I feel stronger. You can get over a relationship faster. This applies to relationships, to work, to literally everything. Yeah.
So we all understand that balancing between business and personal relationship, because they are all interconnected, and I don't think that it's possible to really separate it.
Yeah.
When people say, no, I come home, I switch off my mobile, because whatever happens at home, you take it to work. Whatever happens at work, so you take it home. It's just that balancing it. So we spoke in the car that coming back from US, coming into this region and to Dubai, bringing that knowledge you have developed there and the skills, and we agree that US is progressing in that way. Like the books we all read, From Good to Great, about great leaders, companies. How do you find it in this? And I know it's 3 months, it's very short, but how do you find that people take this when you meet with them and they talk about?
So even though I've physically lived here for 3 months, because I would spend 40 days at a time here. So I was practically living here more than the US.
Yeah.
I actually lived here more than the US this year. So from my experience so far, I actually wrote a article for Arabian Business Magazine on conscious leadership. And it's interesting because when I have conversations with certain leaders in the region, there's a level of interest while expressing disinterest, if you follow me.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's really interesting. And it kind of goes back to when people are comfortable with the way things are, even in their discomfort, we become comfort in discomfort, right? The idea is to change the discomfort into growth versus stagnation, right? The discomfort of the stagnation, that's going to hurt us long term.
I know.
If we
It's
can,
easier to complain that things are not working than
yeah,
change it.
but if we can create a comfortability in discomfort in growth, now that's progress, right? So when it comes to the leaders that I've had conversations with, I would say there is a little bit of resistance. It's a new concept. I don't think it's completely understood, but the science supports it. There was a 10-year study done on some of the biggest companies, major companies in the US, from Whole Foods, Toyota, Google. And over that 10 years, the results are staggering. 40% in overall uplift in overall, I forget the word. I'm now blanking on it. It was a 40% increase in overall well-being. That was the word I'm looking for. 25% increase in productivity, and 1,025% increase in shareholder value. 1,025%. Staggering numbers based on conscious leadership, conscious management, incorporating the awareness. And we're not just talking about go meditate. It goes much deeper than that, right? Meditation's wonderful and it has so many benefits. There's reasons why the biggest, most successful people in the world spend time doing
It
that.
just helps you to be here, present.
Yeah, but
The
it
power
goes
of
much
now,
deeper than that even. I mean, everything goes much deeper than the surface level that we understand. For example, with meditation, when you get deep enough, you're tapping into different brain waves. Think when you're dreaming, where are you?
Yes.
You're in another world,
Yeah.
right? You're in a world you don't know. Now, the idea with meditation is your body is asleep, but your mind is awake. So you're aware of what's happening as you're tapping into deeper levels of consciousness.
Wow.
In those levels of consciousness, you can access information and not necessarily consciously bring it back, but you're tapping into a field of intelligence. And when you come back, your frequency and the work that we do around coherence healing is now tapping into information. So the field, the electromagnetic field in your space is coherent. And when it becomes coherent, you can access information much more easily. That's why people's intuition gets much stronger
Yeah.
when they do this. They can make better decisions. They're calmer. It creates unbelievable results.
Wow.
We just have to understand at a deeper level why you want to do this.
So in your program, in your when you work with companies, and there is a program have developed, and then it is adapt. Have you adapted? Because we normally talk to companies who are outside relocating here. Is it important to adapt to a local mentality, to a Middle Eastern way of doing things, or you're not adapted and you believe that what has been working there will work here as well?
The most important thing with the adaptation to another culture is the communication, right?
Okay.
How are you communicating in that culture? That's the biggest difference. What you do internally as far as running your business,
Yeah.
as long as the communication is effective and supportive of the current environment, that's the most important piece. I can still, even though conscious leadership and the way that I would run a business, how I run my business, is very specific to alignment strategies, supporting, what we've already talked about.
Yeah.
It's important that if I'm bringing in new blood,
Yeah.
that new blood is communicating with us or we're communicating, with them in the way that's most supportive and effective, which we talk and teach communication strategies in our program.
You know what I wanted to say, because you develop your social media, and personal branding is important, and I
Yeah.
believe in now today's world. I mean, when we talk to different leaders, and especially the old school guys, when they say, "No, I am an old school guy. I don't like this." So I think it's important.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that viral video of yours, which went viral, and
Yeah.
what is it about? Why it went viral, or what is it there?
So let me tell you the backstory of
Yes.
that, because I was in a relationship in the US, my last relationship, and it ended. And
Okay.
I was online, and everything online was like, I need you to be submissive and women need to be this way. And I'm like, I'm in trouble. If this is what the men, and look, the people online are the most vocal. It doesn't mean that represents all men.
Yeah.
But that's what I kept seeing online was these men like so aggressively saying like, we need you to be submissive. I'm like, never going to be that person. It doesn't mean I'm not feminine. It doesn't mean I don't love my man to lead. I love when men lead. Please lead. Like, I'm very happy about that. I can take a back seat, no problem.
Yeah.
But the idea is not to put me lower than you, or this is not I'm not a subservient slave to you.
Yeah.
Like, this is a partnership that we both bring something to the table. So the idea that I kept seeing this online, and I was like, women like me who care about their career, who are driven and want to do something
Bigger.
more than just
Yeah.
exist, then what we're seeing online is not supportive of us ever being in a relationship. So for me, it was really important to get the information out to women, like, there are other options. We are told there's only alpha and beta personality types. I never looked this up before, but then I did my research after having a conversation with a friend of mine. And then I discovered all the other archetypes. Now, it's important to note, the world of psychology doesn't recognize these archetypes because it's too broad. Yes. But if we're going to have the alpha beta conversation, let's include the other ones. There's no reason to just talk about the two. Let's understand all of them and create a level playing field. So when I learned about the Sigma personality types, the
Okay.
Sigmas are, for what seemed to me to be more supportive of a female who wanted to care about her career, be driven, because they're not going to try to put us down and them above us.
Okay.
Where they need to be better than us. They need to, like, so if my career is rising and you see me doing really well, then now you want to be like, no, 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 tame it down. Tame it down. You can't be better than me.
I don't
Alpha
believe that
personality
it's
types
there.
can't have alpha personality types, from what we've seen, they get competitive in that from that perspective. So sigmas tend to be more low key from the perspective that they're natural leaders, meaning they have the ability to lead. They're not running to the front of the room to lead, but they have all those leadership skills. So they tend to be drawn to the front of the room because they're recognized as leaders, but they don't need the attention and need to be like super vocal, but they have those skills. So that personality type works very well with someone who cares about their career. Now, let me tell you, when that video came out, some of the, we're talking CEOs, founders of companies, all the people that I know in my network who saw that video looked at me and they were like, Rola, I can't believe that these men are responding in the way that they're responding. This is great. We want women like you. And
Wow.
here you saw those natural leaders supporting women like myself. And so it was really important to me to get that information out. And I think the reason it went viral is because most people have never heard of a Sigma personality type.
Yeah.
And myself, I hadn't. And I am very well read and I love learning about psychology and all of this.
Personality.
Granted,
Yeah.
it's not included, but the point is it's out there and I had just discovered it. And I was on a mission. I was like, I need to get this out to women so they don't give up. I want them to know that there's an opportunity for them to still find love in relationship based on them being who they are and not have to change. And, you know, there's compromise in every relationship, but they don't have to stop being driven and don't need to be subservient, but they can be strong and independent. Men don't seem to like me to say that, but all that means is I have the backbone and the strength and the skill set to take care of myself if this doesn't work. It doesn't mean I want to empower or overpower my man. It just means I want the space to be able to grow and be the best version of myself, and I can do that.
Well, I from whatever you said now, I believe I'm Sigma, 100%
I could
Sigma
see that
type,
from talking to
and
you.
you know that it is important what you said. But so if anyone Sigma there, you can comment at the video and
There's a lot of
go
them.
study that, because I also thought there is only alpha and beta, and I didn't know whether I'm
There's
alpha or
gamma. There's like a whole list of
okay. So
them.
Sigma, that's the perfect thing, and
I wouldn't say careful. We're going to get in trouble. No
so
one's perfect. It's just
okay.
what's right for you, right? There's
Okay.
somebody for everybody.
So,
And, you know,
okay, so video went viral, and but who were more approaching, women to know more or men to understand?
men were the most vocal online, I would say, because there were a lot of angry
Oh,
alphas.
so angry. Oh, wow.
There's
Okay.
that happening. And then,
I'm alpha. I'm not single.
you know, they get angry and then they attack and whatever. It's fine. And then there's the women commented too. I think I got a lot of feedback from women saying, I'm so glad to discover this. This is the angle that I needed to just shift a little bit. And it gave me hope. And I had men who couldn't really completely connect with alpha personality types that had messaged me and they were like, this is me. And I didn't realize. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay,
it's great.
like me now.
Yeah.
But okay, working with people, working with leaders, and obviously you don't separate the men leaders from
No, of course, no.
female leader, male, female. So you work with all.
Yeah.
So in terms of bouncing back, because I personally believe that women are very strong, really, and
Very.
they're stronger than men. And there are situations where they would still sort of come up with everything they have and still move forward, when men just feel sad that nothing works for me. I mean, you know, that victim syndrome.
Yeah.
I think all of us, majority of people, they have it. But working with different leaders, as I said, female, male. So what do you think about leading the company when it comes to women and men? I know they all have different skills, and but bouncing back, coming back from failures, what do you find? I mean, do you have any examples from company leaders who were more, I don't know, I don't want you to say, no, I had more women coming back or men, but
I'll tell you this.
okay.
When it comes to leadership, because we recognize conscious leadership, meaning emotional understanding empathy
Okay.
and
I didn't want to say directly that who do you think better leaders, men
it's
or
not it's listen, I know men leaders that are the best,
okay,
right? And I would put them at the front of any
any company.
lineup.
Yeah.
Now, what we're seeing is because as conscious leadership grows and we understand the need for empathy and awareness and all that, because the results are showing, the studies show that if you incorporate this kind of culture, you're going to get greater productivity, overall healthier environment, greater, increase in revenue, et cetera. So women typically tend to be more empathetic.
Yes.
They've got that natural.
Motherhood.
Sure, even though you're not a mother, you
Yeah, yeah.
you have that nurturing aspect,
To
right?
care.
So they tend to be better from that perspective. I'll tell you another thought that's just a personal thought of mine. What I've seen with leadership, often men say women are emotional. Just see a man in an emotional state, and it makes me question how anyone ever says women are emotional, because I have seen men lose their minds
Over something.
over things that are so irrelevant. And I'm like, women don't do that as much. And obviously we're generalizing.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen in the history of my working environment, it's men typically are the ones losing their temper and getting super emotional.
Faster.
Women might cry because they're upset, and men don't necessarily do that
Yeah.
as often.
But crying is not all the emotions. I mean, it's
Exactly. But when it comes to, flipping their lid, then typically you're seeing men do that. And we don't see women respond that way. They're typically more rational and, go through the process of, let me dissect this a little deeper.
I 100% agree. And, people who knows me for years, I'm here since 2004, and my first company is a concierge service company. So people used to say, oh, it's Timur and his girls, because majority of our employees were females,
Yeah.
and I was always surrounded by females. And I agree with you that men, they also emotional. They get frustrated. Me myself, I can get really flip from nothing. Right?
Right.
I try to, and I think that's where the consciences come, and where that's where the different leadership skills
Yeah.
nowadays. Right?
Yeah, women often will self-reflect way more, it seems, than men do. Like we will look inward, like, how could I have done this better? What can we just have that way of being more often than men thinking, I'm just going to do it and it's going to be right. And again, generalizing, but it's often
But
what we see.
you see, at the beginning when you said, I don't know what, so that's the perfect subject, leadership, because we have that word, leadership, without understanding, because especially in this region, and we have discussed this before, and I openly said this, that in this region specifically, when a person, I don't know, invested in the company, he suddenly thinks that he's a leader of this company. He's directly at the board of directors. He comes and starts making decisions, getting involved in operations. He can come and say, oh, I don't like this guy. You have to fire him. So I think the education from perspective, how to lead the company, not just having position.
Yeah.
Especially in this region, what I see, everyone is the CEO, everyone is the founder, everyone is, and I had the same thing. I mean, I didn't want to be a person who opened a concierge company. I wanted to be a founder, and I didn't want to be a founder of a company. I wanted to be a founder of a group of companies. That's my big ego problem, right?
Yeah.
So I think what you bring here to this region, or basically with your programs, is what leading means: leading people, leading companies, leading relationship. Because when you are in a relationship and your wife or your girlfriend is also a leader, so how to coexist, how to build healthy relationships. So that's the main subject, leadership. And now, yeah.
I just want to make a note, but just in case, leadership is not just about leading teams, it's self-leadership, right? It's like,
Okay.
how am I leading myself? When I get that right, I can help influence others. And that's the idea. It's not just about telling people what to do and barking orders. It's about being the example of leadership for myself, showing up in a way that deserves to be followed, and then sharing that information and that way of being with the people around me, because I know it's effective because I'm applying it.
So leadership starts inside.
We have to apply it to ourselves and disregard anybody else, lead myself first, and then look at leading others. If I'm not the example, then I can't influence others in a way that's going to create a positive impact in any type of relationship, business, anything.
So discipline.
Oh my God. Consistency is the number one thing I talk about. It's one thing to do it one time and great, you've done it a few times, but do less of it more consistently. Grow that consistency and grow it over a period of time, because that's going to create the compounding effect of results.
Oh, I love it. I love the discipline. I mean, we all talk about discipline, but people don't realize that we all have it.
Yeah. And when you think about it, I will bring everything back to life force energy with discipline. What you're doing with discipline is you're taking your life force that's maybe scattered over here, scattered over there, focused on this, angry at this person, resenting that person. Your energy's all over the place. When you have discipline and you're focused, that focused intention, and you channel that life force energy to something, let's say it's these three main things: my family, my work, my health, right?
Yeah.
And I'm channeling at this, and I'm not letting all the noise get in the way, right? You've decided what you, based on your value system, what is on that list. And now I'm channeling my life force to those things. I'm going to see results because I'm consistently sending that energy, right? That electric current that's running the world is running my world right here. And we have to pay attention to how we're running it. If we're too scattered, we're going to get less of a current going through, and it's going to produce less results.
So, talking about discipline, it's a very important topic for me. I have, in order to change my life, I decided to add small things and repeat them on daily basis. Change, small. I mean, not major things,
Yeah.
but I think that's what changed my life. So recently, I have talked about discipline online, and I've realized that what I said, all of us, because some people say, no, I'm just undisciplined, I can't just do it, and that's but I don't believe. I believe we all have it inside,
Absolutely.
because we do all dress up even if we don't want. I mean, we
You
do.
shower every day,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yeah.
You brush your teeth, right?
Yes.
You're disciplined in that. You're disciplined in certain things that are important based on your values.
Exactly.
You just haven't created enough of an understanding why that's important to connect it to your values for it to be, for you to be disciplined with it.
Smoking is also a way of you programmed your brain that after you have a meal, you have a ciggy. With the coffee, you have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Or with drinks, you smoke. So you discipline and trained your brain. So
Yeah.
all you need is just to train
Yeah.
your brain to do something
Yeah.
more healthier, more valuable for yourself.
And the more time you spend learning this, gaining awareness, you recognize you're either in a program, you are the program, or you're the programmer. So choose which side. Do I want to be the programmer, programming my life with awareness and conscious intention? Or am I programmed and I'm just going through the motions, not growing, not learning, not creating any real awareness? And by that, I'm being programmed, right? I'm building neural pathways to support what the masses are doing. I'm never going to be different from the masses if I keep just going along with it, if I don't educate myself to understand myself at a deeper level.
So, talking about yourself, Rola Diab, and with all that knowledge and learning and experience now, when you help and coach companies and leaders to be leaders, whether it's a relationship or business, and that program, what about yourself? I mean, how do you recover when do you fail?
Of course.
Do you
My
do
God.
mistakes? Yeah.
No, I actually have never failed in my entire life. I am beyond perfect.
Okay. So, how do you manage things? I mean,
So I have a process.
okay.
Depending on what is happening. I
Guys,
literally
record, yeah.
just had, so I started a community for women because I really want to support women, because I believe women go through different challenges that men do. I think we have different pressures, and I wanted a community to help support that. So I started this Breaking Cinderella community, and I'm doing a free call for them once a week. And this is an opportunity for them to jump on and let's talk about what it is you're going through and what you want help with. And last night, one of the women came on and she had everything from business question to it got into a little bit more personal and how it was affecting her. So we did this work around basically understanding a deeper level how we're being affected by the environment. Now, I share that intro because there have been times where I was at the top of my field, and because I changed my environment, the way that I was thinking and the active work that I was doing on myself, that the day-to-day work that I was doing kind of plummeted because I moved and then my practices weren't there, and I really started to be affected by an environment that didn't support my success. And then what was going on in my head was insecurities about I was in a very superficial environment, and people were very superficial, and I value authenticity. And every time I came up against someone that was super inauthentic and then aggressive and angry and whatever, it was like hurting my soul. It just made me really sad internally to see people behave like this in the world. And it started to really affect me. It completely affected my work. I went from top of my field in one state in Chicago. I moved to LA, and now I'm failing miserably and barely surviving.
Yeah.
I'm maybe extreme, but I was really struggling. And I moved my environment again. I moved towns from one part of LA to another. And I remembered my practices. And I was like, I need to get back to me. Let me work on all these things that I know work. And some of the things that work today, it's a very specific formula for me. I'm either practicing success or I'm practicing failure. And I'm practicing failure in fear of what is coming. I'm practicing success by creating the future that I want. Okay, so if I'm feeling fearful or sad
Insecure.
or whatever it is I'm feeling, that's a lower frequency than what I want to feel, then I have this formula. So I go to all the feelings. What's the image in my mind that I'm seeing? Because if I'm suffering, it's because there's an image in my mind that's not supporting my future, and it hurts. It's my internal guidance system's telling me I'm off track. So come back to the lights by incorporating a more positive picture. So the pictures first. I was like, okay, I need to have an image in my mind of what I want that feels good. Okay, that's the image. I got it. What's my mantra? What am I saying to myself? So anytime I went to that dark place, I'm like, oh, I went there. Okay, image, vision, and out loud, because everything's frequency, right? If my thought is a frequency, my feelings are a frequency, I need to now say it out loud, because that's another frequency, and all of those compound on each other to build and help you move quickly. So I do that next, right? So I speak it out loud. And so with that, I have run many mastermind groups. This is a game changer. Everybody should be in a mastermind group. Create it yourself, find one. Breaking Cinderella is about to launch next month, and it will be a mastermind. So if anyone wants one, there's a community of women.
We'll leave details.
And then we'll have one for alignment mastery for men as well. So in a mastermind, why is it so effective outside of weekly accountability towards your goals and keeping you on track? I've incorporated another piece of the mastermind, which when you bring multiple people together, remember life force, everything comes back to this. It's not just me focused on my goals and my energy, sending my energy to my goal. I now have a group of people with me in a circle every week, sending energy to my goal. And we purposely will do a circle of manifestation where everybody will visualize. It takes a turn. Everybody's eyes are closed. And each person takes a turn in speaking out the desired outcome. So they say it out loud. I walked into my room. I had an instinct to check my email. So I went over to my laptop, and they're describing it. The air it's freezing in here, whatever the details are, really describing it to get people into the emotion. And once they do that, people get chills while
Yeah.
they're all visualizing, closing their eyes, sending energy to that person's vision. Everybody takes turns. You want to magnify results? Do that. Not just one person's life force, multiple people's life force every week towards your
Oh,
goals.
I want it.
It's amazing. So I have stories. One girl didn't know what she was doing with her life. She left a wealth management company and she was kind of in transition, trying to figure it out. She was in our mastermind group. From that, in the next, within about 3 months, she had signed a book deal. She's traveling the world. She's like blew it up, her business, like from not knowing to getting to that. Another girl wanted to start a podcast. One of my good friends who was in the group, she not only got on the international podcast for her company to represent a very significant company, she won an award. I mean, the results were just, they just significantly, one girl got the biggest deal of her life, moved to China. I
Wow.
mean, it was just accelerates rapidly. So when you create the alignment, we're working on all the work, the awareness, everything necessary, add the acceleration for the life force thing, and then do the other skill set that
Yeah.
help you. And for me, a lot of it, my career has advanced heavily because of communication strategies. The way I communicate with people, I can present, I can get on stage. You get in front of a room, you're the most important person that in that moment. People trust you because you're now the authority on the subject matter that you're speaking of, assuming that you didn't completely mess it up and
Yeah.
people don't like you.
Yeah.
Maybe some do, maybe some don't. But the
Yeah.
point is you gain so much credibility by getting in front of a room. And we should all take that opportunity to always say, let me present. Even if it's in front of 3 people,
Yeah.
let me present this. The more we do that and are effective at it, the more effective we are at communicating together, the faster our career
I'm
moves.
getting goosebumps
That
because
means truth. When you get truth, when you get goosebumps, that means there's truth.
yeah, because I was just thinking, yeah, being on the stage and people say I don't feel comfortable. I agree with you that you should start doing it because you just explained the mastermind when
Yeah.
the person in the middle, and then you take everyone with you into your vision, and all of that energy helps you get there. So now, if you are on the stage in front of a big audience, you are soon going to be on a big stage,
Yeah.
right? So when you talk to them, if you ask them to close your eyes and start giving them your vision, just imagine da 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 da. So all of that, like,
Creative energy,
wow,
all that creative life force going to one vision.
shit.
It's powerful.
Can I say shit?
Yeah, I think so. It's your show.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay, being on the stage, like so. Okay, but there are people out there saying, but I don't feel comfortable in front of camera, in front of
Nobody
people.
does.
Okay,
Nobody
good.
does. Listen, when I first started, I remember I had to really get myself over myself. You just have to get over yourself. And just like anything, it's a practice until you get good at it. It's a practice until you feel comfortable. I mean, this last time I did a talk at Mind Valley, and the night before I only had 3.5 hours of sleep. I'm not someone that does well on sleep. I shut down. My everything was shutting down for me. I was like sick that morning. It was so bad. I struggled. And when you're not, I've been able to get on stage and get into flow. And once
Yeah,
you're in flow, that's the best, right? You're in flow. You know your subject matter. It's not about you. It's about the impact of what you're bringing
yeah.
to share with everybody. I could not get into flow. Thank God for my notes because I was like, did I say this yet? Oh, I need, like, because I was
What?
exhausted. And someone was doing Reiki on me right before because that's how bad I was. And so there's moments like that where you have to get it together. And then there's other moments where you're going to feel so on top of the world. It takes a minute to get to that point. But when you make it all about you, you're going to feel nervous. You're going to be uncomfortable. Make it about the impact. Make it about change. Make it about growth for everybody else. And now you're driven by something greater than yourself, and you'll feel completely different in front of a room.
Wow. It is like mind blowing. And I'm still thinking about the masterminds and the energy and then how impactful it is. But you studying this Cinderella community only for women.
Breaking Cinderella
Breaking Cinderella.
community is specifically for women, but we are teaching the same material minus the things that apply to women
Yeah.
in the Alignment Mastery course.
Okay.
So men can join as well.
And is there so there is a website, there is people
There
can
is,
contact,
yep.
and your Instagram. I'll leave all the details of Rola. So now, before we summarize, so we have discussed leadership, we have discussed performance, we have discussed the inner power. We have discussed the life force energy, right? And all of that, that I believe every time when I have a guest for a podcast, and it's true, I bring a guest without, like you said today, I don't know the top. I like, what are we going to talk about? Yes, I mean, the show is about bouncing back. But every time I bring someone, it's like a universe sending me a person.
No, I love
Because
that.
everything you said today is what I needed to hear
Mm,
at this stage. I mean, I'm going now through a lot of difficulties. I call them lessons, and I really needed it
mm,
just to go back to, like, come on. I mean, you know about life force, you know about energy, you know that what you need to do. Like
yeah.
3 months back, I was having breathing exercises. I was doing that. So now that morning walk became a routine, I don't do anything. I mean, I used
Mm,
to, when I started morning walk, I used to add other small things into my life. It was changing.
yeah.
And then I stopped or I forgot, and I got again busy with your. I tell this to my employees, and I said, look, it's not fair because of the problems you are telling me. Oh, I have this. I feel down. You don't perform 100%.
Yeah.
But what you expect from me is the 100% at the end of the month, right?
Hmm.
So it's not fair that during the months you don't perform 100% for whatever reason, but in the end of the month. So the same comes to me.
Absolutely.
I don't perform myself 100% now.
And when you run a company, I think it's really important to look at each leader, each person in a management role as a coach. Because if the coachee
Yeah.
is failing, they need their coach to step up because they have the hard skills, meaning they know how to use their CRM, they know the product knowledge, they know the things that necessary to sell.
For that
But
position.
we can look at any company and look at everybody's been taught the hard skills. Why are some excelling and others failing? Because there's the soft skills that really need to be learned, and that's the mindset strategies, the emotional frequency management, how you're directing that life force, your framing, all of those things are important to keep the mind's fitness in place in order to achieve their results at a high level. So the management need to be efficient as a coach. So when their coachee goes down, they're there to support them and teach them. I was working with a company, and I love the story because it was so out of the blue. So I was working with this one company, and I was assigned to do one-on-one. So I would do workshops monthly, and then I would do one-on-ones with the management. And there was one guy who suddenly was struggling, and he, in our one-on-one, says, Rola, I have to be honest with you. I'm sleeping on the couch right now. I'm struggling at home. It's hard for me to focus on work and be at my full. Got it. As a coach, I know I have success frameworks, and those success frameworks don't apply just to work, they apply to life, relationships. And so we incorporated this success framework and a communication strategy so that he was communicating with his wife effectively.
Wow.
So we got him off the couch.
Good, back to
He
bad.
recently wrote me a testimonial that was so amazing. It's on my LinkedIn, where he basically, when he left that company, he applied everything that we learned. He got 3 raises in a year, got promoted, like really advanced his career. And it's because he credits it heavily to the things that he learned so that he could be in a position of self-leadership, right? Now he could be promoted because he knows what he's doing. He can lead others. When you can lead others because you've led yourself, now you're winning, right? That's why
Wow.
it's so important to learn those things. And then I did it again with another guy who was literally about to be fired. He didn't know that, but they're like, he
Yeah.
wasn't even on my roster. He wasn't on my list of people, and this is a different company. He gets on a call with me, and this guy's so disconnected, not caring, right?
Yeah.
Like really just going through the motions. And it's very clear he's going through the motions. He's not going to be successful in that type of mentality. And so we went through our strategies. One call, that was all it took. I get a call a few days later, like, what did you do with him? Like, we don't, you had
We
one
can't
call
fire
with
him
him?
now.
They're like, what? We had one, you had one call? He's like a different person. I'm like,
Well,
yeah, because now we aligned his way of thinking and values and drive with work so that it makes sense. Once you connect those things, you can be driven. We don't talk about procrastination and needing motivation when your values are aligned with your reasoning with why you're doing things. Once you align those things, you get completely different results.
why are you here?
So
That's
important.
wow. So when frameworks, so you do as well have tools. I
Of
mean,
course, everybody who's in the coaching field
yeah,
has tools.
so important. And as I said, it's just that the way I feel now is like, why are we rescheduled the previous podcast?
I love hearing that.
No, really, because no, I'll be completely honest and transparent. And today I scheduled a team meeting at 2.
Mm.
And I said, okay, we'll go through this and da 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 da, and I'm gonna be more tough. And I just, again, you just told me that. I mean, there is no point of just pressing them. I need to coach. I need to understand why. What is so not aligned? And I'm not saying that, of course, I'm going to have the same tools you have, but we'll discuss that later for the team. But I'm just saying that today morning, I said, okay, why do I do it at 2? I should do it in the morning because I want, like, it's Thursday again, 1 week is gone. And why I say it's important for what you bring to this market, because everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
Everyone, I mean, I'm telling you guys, if you're not being honest to yourself by accepting that you're failing, or accepting that you failing as a leader, as the manager, as a team member, open up, go talk to someone. I mean, a search for help. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise,
And it's not just when you're feeling challenged. There's no better time than to learn how to do this than before there's a problem.
yeah.
Do it before you get to that point, because then you can move away from your baseline. If your baseline's here and you're just above it and you're doing fine, don't wait till you fall to baseline. Let's move you further so that baseline now moves up, right? You're at a greater level
Yeah.
of awareness so that you can achieve at a greater level, your team can achieve and have a better performing product or experience.
I'm so aligned with you. I believe that it is important to when we say that constant learning is important.
Oh,
So it's not just the self learning; it's talking to people who have done things differently, who have different experience.
Yeah. And the challenge is we forget, right? Like, unless it's like so ingrained
Everyone,
in
right?
you, you've learned things. Like, I've been at a seminar. I won't mention who it is, but like one of the biggest teachers in the world. And I was at the front, and I remember him saying he fell off of the work that he's teaching us, that we're all practicing. There was a period of time he fell off, and I'm like, you are the greatest on the planet at what you're talking about. You even fell off. That just goes to show you really have to stay on it. Once you get complacent, once you say, I've made it, oh, guaranteed you're going backwards. When you think you've hit your pinnacle, watch out. If you're saying this, pay attention.
Yeah.
I've seen it 100 times over. Watch out. You've got to have that next level of growth, because if you're not, you're immediately moving backwards. The greater the impact at that high level, the greater the drawback. So it's again, life force. How much life force did that take to get there? And now you're like blowing up, and you think it's over because now you've basically squeezed the hose of, as you're spraying water, you've just squeezed it as the pressure's coming out. Now that is going to cause problems.
So when you ask me in the car why I do podcasts or why I
Yeah.
started, for me,
For you.
yeah, yes, I want everyone to listen to this and get whatever they want, but mostly it's
I
for
love
me,
it.
because every time I bring someone, it's so impactful for myself.
I love
I don't
that.
do it for marketing. I don't do it for promo. It will come itself. But
Yeah.
everything you said today, I needed to hear. It's like you are preparing me for my 2 o'clock meeting
I
with the
love it.
team. I know now how I'm going to act, and it's completely different from what I was thinking I'm going to say.
Amazing.
This
I
is
love
very
hearing that.
impactful. So now, summary of before we complete our podcast. First of all, it was so amazing,
Thank you.
goosebumping.
Love that.
So, couple of words. to the audience, what do you think? I mean, I'll leave the details. We're gonna a couple of advices. Whoever watching it now, who's gonna watch later, um, leaders, not leaders, female, male,
Yeah.
one, two advice.
At a baseline, I think it's really important that we take stock every single day of our frequency. What am I doing? Well, what does my energy feel like? And remove the word energy because we use it so often that people disregard it at this
Yeah,
point. So let's talk life force. My
life
life
force.
force today, what is it doing? Where is it? Where am I sending it? Am I angry at someone right now and sending that my energy? Once you get really attentive to this, you'll start to pay attention where you've got annoyed by someone and it's holding your attention and you could easily let it go and move past it and just be over it, but you want to hold on to it. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
That's depleting the life force that you could be using towards creating something really important in your life. So look at everything as life force. Your business is a life force. Your relationship is receiving life force. Are you feeding it enough? Are you feeding yourself enough? Are you sending too much of it all to your business and nothing back to yourself? It is when I do 5 minutes of love out loud in the mirror. I haven't done it in a while because I'm so practiced throughout the day at this point. But when I was doing that in the morning, just as a part of my day, it's amazing how that compounds over the course of a week and 2 weeks. I've told people to do this, and at the end of 2 weeks, they feel completely different about themselves. It shifts you in a way you wouldn't believe, and it's something so simple for 5 minutes a day. That's how simple it can be. We overcomplicate everything. It's very simple. From a high level,
Yeah.
it's simple. The challenge is change, right? Deciding to change, making it important enough to change. That's why we need to go through the awareness, understand ourselves at a deeper level, go through the process of what will cause change, and then we can move to making a difference.
Wow. You heard this? Life force. It's important. Small things. Don't overcomplicate. Talk to yourself. Give yourself
Pat on the back.
pat on the back and just say how great and amazing you are. And you are right. We are overcomplicating. We think, okay, now I need to switch off the light, meditate, sit. No, just do it on daily basis. Do it in the car while driving.
Exactly.
Talk to yourself.
Consistency.
Consistency. All right, that's it. Wonderful. We're done. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah.
It was fun.